What's up guys, Eric here from Academia Mendix Brazil, and today we're going to continue with the previous story. We were working our previous video about how to create quotations and quotation items. Yeah, we noticed that we need to calculate the total values because they are not automatically calculated, so we have to do some tricks here in order to make them work. But before you continue, I ask you to subscribe and also give a thumbs up for this video so we can spread the word. We can show this video to more people, and also hit the notification button so you are going to be notified every time there's a new video. Alright guys, let's not waste more time. Let's get into it. Alright, as you can see here, we have our screen, we have the quantity, we have the unit value, and well, the total value is basically the unit value multiplied by the quantity. So we have to somehow multiply those values. So what are we gonna do? Well, let's double click the unit value, and here on the screen here we have this tab called events. Let's click on it, and on this one we have these 4 events: on change, on enter, on leave, and on enter key press. Every time I change a value here on my field, I'm going to run anything that I select here. The same happens to when, for example, I enter into the field, so I can run any of those events. For example, if I leave, I'm going to run any of those events, and if I hit the enter key on my keyboard, I'm going to run any of those events. But that's not what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is on change, I'm going to run a nanoflow. And what is a nanoflow? Well, nanoflow is pretty much like a microflow, but doesn't do all the things a microflow does, but do different things. Like, for example, you can run JavaScript code from nanoflow because nanoflows runs in the client side, in the user's browser. This is different from the microflows. Microflows runs on the server side. So there's a little difference between those two, and that's why we have in native or even offline applications, we have mostly nanoflows because, well, they run in the client side. And this is important. You can, for example, you can manipulate the user's interface because, well, you can run, for example, jQuery, and then you can change a field, you can change a class, so whatever. There's a lot of things you can do with JavaScript, especially running nanoflows. But anyway, I'm not here to give details about nanoflows. You can see the documentation down below in the description. But however, for this specific case, we're going to run nanoflows because I'm going to do calculations on the client side. I don't really need to go to the server side and do the calculation. I can do that if I want, but here I want to use nanoflows. So here in objects on quotation item, I'm going to hit new, and this nanoflow is going to be called OCH, which is the abbreviation of on change, quotation item, calculate. Let's put it like this. Okay. Let's hit OK. Alright, so this nanoflow is gonna get this argument here, which is the quotation item object, which is fine. Let's hit show. Let's click OK. Let's not forget to give access to our user. So let's select everything here. Doesn't really matter at this point. And we need to know if those values, quantity and unit value, are valid. In other words, if they are different from 0. So let's put here a decision and double click. And let's put it here, entered values. And here on the expression, let's check if, for example, is different from 0 and quotation item unit value different from 0. Awesome. So with this, we make sure we are going to do the multiplication, and there'll be no errors while we do that. So let's click OK. All right, let's right click here, and let's put the condition value as true. This I'm going to drag and drop here and put an event. And well, here we're not going to do anything, but here let's add a activity, and let's change that object, which is the quotation item. And then here we're going to put here quotation item, which is the quantity, times the quotation item unit value. Let's click OK and OK. So we are already calculating the quotation item value, which is the total value of that quotation item. Okay, and you notice that we have here a refresh in client icon, which means if I change here my object, I'm going to right away reflect that on the screen. So I don't really need to worry about how this is going to refresh to the client because we're running a Nanoflow. As we are running a Nanoflow in the client side in the browser, we make sure anything that I change in a Nanoflow, I'm going to reflect that change on the user screen, which is awesome. Let's save this, Ctrl Shift and S. Our job is done here. Let's close this. And now we're going to work on the save button off that screen because here is where we are going to update the total value of the quotation. So let's then right click this button and we have this awesome feature which is generate validation microflow. Let's click here, and here we are going to do all of those validations. So basically it's going to check if the unit value is entered, if the quantity is entered, which is awesome. Let's just click generate microflow, and there we go. Let's open the microflow, and here we have this microflow right here, which is going to do this validation running this microflow right here, which is this one. And then here we're going to do all of the validations. I recommend you to have a look at this microflow and understand how to work so you can do better validations on your apps. But that's pretty much what it does. Like, it checks if we have 0 or even empty values, and then we make sure the user entered everything he needs to enter. And here on the right side, we are going to refresh the total value of the quotation. So the first thing we're gonna do here, I'm going to add another activity, double click, let's retrieve from the quotation item the quotation, okay, quotation, there we go. And it's important to be an association, not from the database. And then from this object, I'm going to do an activity, and from this object quotation, I'm going to retrieve all of the quotation items, okay? Quotation items, there we go. And here on this list, I'm going to loop over it. So let's add here a loop, which is going to pretty much run an iteration for every object of the list. So let's double click here, select the list. All right, and before we start doing any change to the quotation object where we have the total value of the quotation, let's first, before the loop, let's change its value to 0. So let's change object. And then this is going to be, first of all, 0. Okay. Okay, you don't really need to refresh in client. And here inside, let's add a change object, double click. Here, I'm going to choose the quotation item, new, the total value is going to be quotation item, quotation total value plus the iterator quotation item, and then the total value. So you see what I'm doing here? So I'm getting the current value of the object quotation, the total value, and I'm accumulating, okay? I'm summing up the total value from the quotation item. So I will always have the actual value of the whole quotation. So let's click OK, another OK. Let's save this. And of course, let's not forget to give access to our users so they can use the microflow to save their quotations. Ctrl Shift S to save everything. And one last thing before we continue, in the page quotation item you added, we also need to add the on change. You see that in the quantity we didn't add the Nanoflow created. So let's also call a Nanoflow from here, which is going to be this Nanoflow. So it doesn't matter if I change the unit value or the quantity, my total value here will always be calculated. And another thing that I want to add here is that once you change the value of a field, there are two ways to actually change the value. Either you leave the field or the event runs when you change something in the field. And that's something that you need to change on those input fields. So let's double click this, and here on the events tab, make sure we have this option selected. So every time a user types, the event is going to run and is going to change the value of the total quotation item. Okay. Another thing that I want to add here is on the quotation screen, we don't have an option to edit items that we added to the quotation. So let's double click the new edit, quotation new edit, and here let's add here, let's right click this, add widget, let's select a layout grid, let's take the 931, let's bring this text here. Double click this manual 3, let's select outfit content, let's click OK, and let's right click here, add widget, and we're going to add a link, which is pretty much like a button, but it looks like a link on the screen. Double click it, and then here let's remove the caption and the icon. Let's choose a pencil, this one. And once we click on the pencil, we're going to show a page, which is going to be quotation item, new edit. And let's add another one here, add widget, another link. So let's select here link button, double click, and let's also remove the caption, the icon. Let's actually add a trash can, and once we click on that link, we can just delete it, delete the object. So let's delete the object, and let's make sure that the close page is nil. So let's click OK. There we go. Let's save this. And on the page we're seeing right now, we also need to give access to our user. Okay, so let's go here on visible for, and let's select everything. Okay, let's save this, and also let's go back to the quotation new edit page. Let's just put here like manual 3. Let's just keep it like this. I think that's more than enough space for those buttons. Let's save this, and let's finally run our app and see if we can, well, do quotations in the proper way. Alright, application is running. Let's click here on this pencil, and yeah, we have here all of those buttons. Let's click this one right here, the first one, the Xbox. Let's change to 2 Xboxes. There we go. We have here $800, which is fair enough. Let's save this. You see that the total value of my quotation is refreshed. Let's see the PlayStation. Let's change to 550. Yeah, a lot of money. And finally, let's just delete this one. We don't really need it. And this is the total value of my quotation. Let's save. And here you see the total value of our quotation, $1,900 on video games. That's a very well invested money, I would say. But anyway, that's pretty much how our story was done. Like, now we have quotation items, which is awesome. Let's then go back to Studio Pro because we can finally finish our story. One of the last stories. Let's go here on version control, commit, and then here on the related stories, we can choose this one that is on progress. Let's put like here quotations. Oops, quotations done. Let's commit and push. And finally, let's go to stories. Let's change these status here to done. And yes, we just have one more story to go. Like, as account manager, I want to approve or reject prices. So yeah, another story, another video. This was the video. Hope you like it. Please don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and also hit the notification button. And I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye bye.